User forms and controls, in programming language, Visual Basic for applications. Task. Make VB program, to calculate y value by x argument, according to a graph. X argument could be set by two ways, from list box, or scroll bar. Start Microsoft Excel, to create a new spreadsheet file. We need, to show Developer tab. Put the mouse pointer, over the Excel ribbon, any empty place. Call the context menu, and select Customize the ribbon item. Set visibility, of the Developer tab on the ribbon. Check, the Developer tab visibility. Run Save As tool. Expand the file type list, to select the desired save option. Choose, the macro-enabled save option. After checking the file name and type, we will save the spreadsheet. Open, Visual Basic Programming Language Editor. Open, the Insert menu item. Run the user form command, to add a new dialog to the Microsoft Excel file. We see, the added user form, in the editor window. Information about the user form, is also displayed in the project window, for the current Excel file. In a Properties window, we can see all the characteristics of selected object. The main property is name. By this property we get access to an object in program code. Put the text in a caption property, to set the caption of the user form 1 object. Run the user form, as a program. We see the dialog window, user form, specified in the project. Close the dialog, to stop its running. Let's try to close Properties window. Properties window is closed. Open View menu, to change situation. Select Properties window item, in a View menu. You can set the size of selected object, using Properties window, or markers on the object borders. Select View Code command, to view the program, related to selected object. Now, we are in a program code, related to user form 1. Open the objects list, and select user form, to create a program for it. We automatically get the template for a program, which runs, as user clicks on the user form in any place. Such program, is called event. In a special list, above the code, you can select another event, to get appropriate program template. Put messagebox command, into the user form _click event, to display notification, when user will click on user form 1. Run the project. Put the pointer, over the user form dialog. Click on user form, calling the click event, with appropriate message box. Close, message box notification. Close the dialog with user form, to stop its running. During the project editing, you can switch, between object and code state. To work, with visible style and object properties, use View Object command. Let's begin, to organize user interface. Select Command button item, in Toolbox. Drag, Command button item, on the user form. Release the mouse, and you get a new Command button instance, with the name, Command button 1. Change, the caption property, of the Command button 1. Set horizontal position, of the Command button 1, on the user form. Set vertical position, of the Command button 1, on the user form. Use View Code Context command, to work with a program for Command button 1 object. We return to program code, related with the user form, and get a new template for click event, for Command button 1. Put message box command into the command button one-click event to display notification when user will click on command button 1. Save spreadsheet with our project. To return to visible style and object properties, use view object command. We are in object mode now. Run the project. Put the pointer over the user form dialog. Click on user form, calling the click event with appropriate message box. Close message box notification. Put the pointer over the command button 1. Click on command button 1, calling another click event with appropriate message box. Close message box notification. Close the dialog with user form to stop its running. Continue to create user interface. Select label item in toolbox. Drag label item on the user form. Release the mouse, and you get a new label instance with the name label 1. Change the caption property of the label 1, it will be invitation. Continue to create user interface. Select text box item in toolbox. Drag text box item on the user form. Release the mouse, and you get a new text box instance with the name text box 1. We will use text box 1 to input a text during runtime. But beforehand, we set the default text using text property. Use viewCode context command to work with the program for command button 1 object. Change message box output using the value of text property from text box 1 control. Save spreadsheet with our project. Let's run the project. Let's test command button one-click event for default text in text box 1. We get message box notification with the default text from text box. Close message box notification. Change the text in the text box 1. Let's test command button one-click event for a new text in text box 1. We get message box notification with a new text from text box. Close the dialog with user form to stop its running. We need to have a picture of graph from the source material, so press print screen then. Open a new graphic file with BMP extension. Paste clipboard with a print screen to a graphic file. Select appropriate region and crop the image. Save graphic file. Let's close the toolbox window, temporary. Select toolbox item in a view menu to show toolbox window again. Continue to create user interface. Select image item in toolbox. Drag image item on the user form. Release the mouse, and you get a new image instance with the name image1. Set picture property to put a graphic file into the image1 object. Select prepared graphic file. So, we have a picture in the image1 object. Set picture size mode as stretch to place all the picture area inside image1. But we get disadvantages, bad proportions and low resolution, because of image1 size. So, let's return picture size mode to clip, to save initial picture size and resolution. For better picture view, increase the frame of image 1, it will be enough. We plan to calculate y value by x argument, according to a graph. An x argument could be set by two ways. To do so, we need special controls for a variant selection. Continue, to create user interface. Select Option button item, in Toolbox. Drag, Option button item, on the user form. Release the mouse, and you get Option button 1 instance. Then, set the caption for it. Select, Option button item, in Toolbox again. Drag, Option button item, on the user form. Release the mouse, and you get the second Option button 2. Set the caption of Option button 2, according to another variant, of X argument definition. Because of two option buttons need to work together, we set the same group name for them. Set the same group name for the second option button. The main property of each option button is value. It sets, is option button selected, or not. Let's set initial state of option button 1, as selected, value equals true. Use viewCode context command to work with a program for command button 1 object. Convert first action in command button 1 click into a comment by apostrophe sign at the beginning. We don't need user form click event now, so select and delete it. In command button 1 click event, we need to define which option button is selected. Let's use if then else statement to analyze which option button has value equals true, option button 1 or option button 2. Also set message box notifications according each case. Let's run the project. Let's test a variant first, when option button 1 is selected. Option button 1 has value equals true, so we get appropriate notification, on command button 1 click. Let's test a variant, when option button 2 is selected, value of option button 1 is false. Rise, the command button 1 click event. Option button 1 has value equals false, so we get appropriate notification, on command button 1 click. Close the dialog with user form, to stop its running. Increase the height, of user form 1. Select, list box item, in toolbox. Drag, list box item, on the user form. Release the mouse, and you get a new list instance, with the name listbox1. Let's run the project. We can see that initial state of listbox1 is empty. It need to add some code to fill it with items. Close the dialog with user form, to stop its running. Select user form 1, and go to a code state. We get user form click event again, because it is a default event. Select another event for user form, activate. Activate event occurs when user form 1 loaded. It gives us ability to make some initializations before user interface is loaded. Use addItem method to fill the list box 1 with real numbers. Keep in mind that decimal point need to be set according to your operation system, comma or dot. Let's run the project. User form activate event was raised successfully. We get items in the list box 1. One small problem, the list box 1 has no initial selected item. Let's return to a code. Select User Form 1, and go to a code state. Set the first item as initial selected element in list box 1, using list index property, 0, the first, 1, the second, etc. Let's run the project. We see that first element of list box 1 is selected by default. Close the dialog with user form. Select scrollbar item in toolbox. Drag scrollbar item on the user form. Set orientation for a new scrollbar 1 instance as horizontal. Set the appropriate size of the scrollbar 1 instance. Scrollbar 1 need to have a limits of values we get from it. First of all, set a max property. Minimum value of the scrollbar 1 will be integer negative number. Current initial value of the scrollbar 1 we set as 0 at the center of its range. Let's run the project. We can see initial state of the scrollbar 1. We can change the value on the scrollbar 1, but we can't see what value we get. Close the dialog with user form. Select label item in toolbox. Drag label item on the user form. A new label 2 instance we will use as a scoreboard for the scrollbar 1. Let's clear the caption on the label 2. Use viewCode context command to work with the program for scrollbar 1 object. We get template for a change event of the scrollbar 1 object. It is most common event for all scrollbars. Set the change of the label to, by each change of the scrollbar 1. The caption of the label 2, will get the value from the scrollbar 1. Let's run the project. We already run the program, but still have no information about initial value of the scrollbar 1. Let's try to change a value of the scrollbar 1. When we changed scrollbar 1, appropriate event has occurred, and the label 2 got the value from the scrollbar 1. Close the dialog with user form. Select user form 1, and go to a code state. Let's put the call of the scrollbar 1 change event into the user form activate event, so we try to show the initial value of the scrollbar 1. Let's run the project. Now, we see initial value of the scrollbar 1, because of user form activate event, was occurred. Let's test different values of the scrollbar 1. Let's test different values of the scrollbar 1. We can use only integer values. Let's fix this situation. Close the user form dialog. Set the max of the scrollbar 1 as 20, instead of 2, 10 times greater. Accordingly, set the min of the scrollbar 1 as -20, instead of -2. Use viewCode context command to work with a program for scrollbar 1 object. Scrollbar cannot have a real value, but we can transform the integer received from the scrollbar into real by dividing operation. Let's divide the value from the scrollbar by 10. Beforehand, we increased the range for scrollbar 10 times, so now it returns to initial limits. So, what we get? Let's run the project. The initial value of the scrollbar 1 is still 0. When we make a small positive change in the scrollbar 1, we get value equal 1, the region in positive direction is from 0 to 20. But in the label 2, we put transformed scaled value, as a real number divided by 10. Let's test different values of the scrollbar 1. Actually, we get real numbers from the range between -2 and 2. Let's test different values of the scrollbar 1. Actually, we get real numbers from the range between -2 and 2. Close the user form dialog. Use viewCode context command to work with the program for command button 1. Let's define real number type variables, double, for x argument and y function. Now, we need to get x argument values, according to option button state. Make comments in if then else statement, using special sign, apostrophe. Read the current value of the list box 1 into x variable, using cdbl function, to transform the text into a real number. In another branch of if-else, read the current value of the scrollbar 1 into x variable, don't forget to divide it by 10. Put the command to display the value of x variable to the end of command button 1 click event. Let's run the project. Select option button 1, and choose the second item from the list box 1. We get correct x argument value in the message box dialog. Select option button 2 to test another variant of x argument input. Select the value using scrollbar 1. Let's test input by the scrollbar 1. We get correct x argument value in the message box dialog. Close the user form dialog. Next, we plan to organize y-function calculation, according to the graph. Use viewCode context command, to work with a program for command button 1. We need to keep in mind, that y-function need to be calculated, by different expressions, according to appropriate regions on the graph, A, B, C. We will use select case statement, to specify regions, A, B, C, according the x-axis of the graph. Now, we can write the expressions for y-function calculation, according all the ranges of the graph, A, B, C. Let's put information, about the y-function value, into the message box notification. Let's run the project. Select option button 1, and choose the first item, from the list box 1. We get correct y-function value, in the message box dialog. Close notification, about the results. Select the value, using scrollbar 1. Let's test input, by the scrollbar 1. We get correct y-function value, according to a second range. Function value, may be rounded. Close notification, about the results. Close, the user form dialog. Use viewCode context command, to work with a program, for command button 1. Add round function, for a result, with 3 digits after comma. Add information about user's name, from the text box 1, to the message box notification. CHR function with 13 argument, makes a paragraph in a text. Let's run the project. Put the name, into the text box 1. Select option button 2, to test scrollbar input. Select the value, using scrollbar 1. Let's test input, by the scrollbar 1. We get notification, with the user invitation, and correct rounded Y function value. Close notification, about the results. Close, the user form dialog. Let's organize, calling of the user form 1, from the program module. Run the module command, to add a program module, to the Microsoft Excel file. We see, the added module in the editor window. Information about the module, is also displayed in the project window, for the current Excel file. Create a template, for the Prog5 program. We plan, to call user form 1 dialog, from the Prog5 in module 1. Use show method, to run user form 1 from the code. Save, the spreadsheet file with the project. Let's close, Visual Basic Editor. Go, to the Developer tab. Run Macros tool, from the Developer tab. Select our program by name, Prog5, and run it, using macro dialog. It is a user way, to execute a program without Visual Basic environment. Select, third X item from the list box 1. Let's test calculations, by pressing Command button 1. We get notification, with the user invitation, and correct rounded Y function value. After closing the results notification, user can test another X argument values, set by different ways.